Welcome to Conscious Profits Unfiltered. This is your host, Sebastian Nam.
What up, fam? Today I bring you Danny Blue, the CEO and founder of social enterprise 1 Million Acres. He was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia, and has been living in LA for the past 20 years. He's a father of 5-year-old twins, loves the outdoors, and forming a deeper connection with nature. He developed a strong interest and passion for rainforests after visiting the Amazon back in 2016 and has since incorporated his entrepreneurial skills with his passion for protecting these amazing ecosystems ever since. Danny won the Most Likely to Create Impact Award and the People's Choice Award at UCLA's Impactathon for his project with 1 Million Acres. He successfully funded 2 crowdfunding campaigns and has already protected over 10,000 acres of endangered rainforest through the sales of his eco-friendly products. Danny Blue provides an excellent example of how one can create an immense impact through a creative, for-profit social enterprise model. Enjoy the show. What's up, Danny? Good to have you on, my man.
Hey, what's going on, man? Good to be here.
Good. Danny Blue. Freaking badass name. I love that name, man.
Well, thank you. Yeah, still working to live up to it.
Hey, man, you are definitely living up to it, and people are going to hear about it. Why in this podcast, actually. So I start my podcast by asking everyone, when was your last oh shit moment? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
The last oh shit moment. I mean, that's probably not too hard to unpack one of those, given the current landscape of, just life in general being oh shit. I would say, one of the big ones was really, everything that's been going on with COVID. I mean, obviously it's, we're months into it now, but I think, for me, it was really less about the overwhelming weight of oh shit, this is real, we're going on quarantine, lockdown, it just got real. And it was actually more in when the dust settled from that, starting to witness how my mindset had actually shifted in I feel like I'm in the best mindset that I've ever been in 10 years. And I've been doing a lot of work on myself, personal development, all this deep stuff. And to all of a sudden kind of wake up one day and be like, oh shit, this is to be in this moment right now in this state of just deep gratitude and appreciation for everything I have, given the current circumstances. It was a total yes, I knew all this before, but to be in it right now and to be witness to the fact of, you look outside your window and, the sky is falling, but to be in such a positive state of mind and hopefulness and appreciation and gratitude. That was one of the pivotal moments of this year for me, where I realized this whole thing of creating your own reality and, building whatever it is you want with your mind, to be able to be in that space in this current landscape was just yeah, it's real.
Yeah, man, that's a great answer. And I'm so glad that you are just in flow right now, man. It's so great. Not a lot of people can say that, but a lot of people can also say that because of the given circumstances that they have come to that space of deep gratitude and appreciation.
Yeah. And my state of flow, quote unquote, is just like anyone else's. I'm by no means every day wake up and I literally my troughs, my peaks and troughs, my troughs are bad. My troughs are not man, I'm having an off day, tomorrow will be good. My troughs will be fuck, am I on the right path? I swear yesterday I was aligned. I know for sure nothing is going to change my mind. And then today it's shit, is this where I'm supposed to be? So I go through the whole spectrum of all of it still,
I feel you. And thanks for sharing that, man. I mean, and then you go through the day and then you'll see conversations like the ones we're going to have today. Maybe we'll shift that even, and give you shed some more light on that, man. So I want to start by asking you something, Danny. Right, we're gonna get into OMA and 1 million acres that you created, but dude, this statistic that we destroy 80,000 rainforest acres a day. Dude, how is that even possible, man? Like, if I'm reading that and I'm not like in this kind of field, it just kind of sounds like some bullshit stat, like some tree hugging stat that people are throwing out there, like 80,000 acres a day. How in the world do we destroy 80,000 acres a day?
Yeah, I mean, it's staggering, and the first time you hear about it, people will try to frame that in context to like understand, like, oh, well, how is that possible? Let me kind of imagine, what is 80,000 acres, and like, what does that boil down to, a minute? And when you get granular down to the minute, we're destroying, I think the current statistic, and here's the other thing, it's really hard to track the exact number with this. These scientists and the people that really study this, they have these systems that they use to really give like their best estimate based off of satellite data and whatnot. So it's a rough figure, but they estimate anywhere from 1 to 2 acres a second. So when you go down to that level, you're like, well, how do you even destroy an acre in a second?
Yeah, how do we destroy these? What do we do? What are different ways that we
so
destroy?
It's really, it's not just happening in one place. There's people and corporations and these big extractive industries that are posting up in these tropical ecosystems all over the world. The Amazon is where, I'm focused on right now, at least with the project that we're working on, really protecting and, doing our work down there. And there's a lot of stuff that's happening there as well. But, it's really, there's intentional fires, as we saw, last year. Everyone was up in arms when they realized the Amazon was on fire. What most people don't realize is that it's happening again right now. And it's actually predicted to be even worse than last year. But these the biggest culprit, one of the biggest culprits of deforestation in the rainforest is the animal agriculture industry. So these large extractive companies are coming in and they're literally just clearing millions of acres of pristine rainforest to make room for these large plots of land that they'll end up utilizing for, cattle grazing. Soybean production is a big one as well. So, native rainforests will be cleared and they'll be used to replant, soy palms and whatnot. So it's staggering. It's really hard to conceptualize that number. The reason why it's happening is because of modern industry. We demand it. A large amount of our beef that we consume here in America comes from Brazil, and it's just an effect of the demand that the modern humans have put on the earth to support our consumption of a lot of these products.
So what if that demand doesn't change though? Are there ways around that? Like if that demand doesn't change, are there ways around to supply that demand without necessarily destroying all those acres of rainforest?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a few other things that are going on. It's obviously not just the large corporations and extractive industries that are coming in. Another big part of what's going on is, and this is actually a big focus for what I'm working on with OMA, is many of these indigenous communities that live in the rainforest, when they have no other economic opportunities at all, they have to support their family.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, and this isn't just specific to indigenous communities in the Amazon. I mean, this is specific to really any, I guess you call it any indigenous community that lives in, more of a natural environment where if they're not making money doing whatever, they can, maybe from utilizing their own, handicrafts or artisanal skills, whatnot, they'll go into the forest, or they'll go into the rivers, and they'll start exploiting the natural resources. And it's one thing to just live off the land. There's a natural balance that's able to happen, and these communities have learned to live in harmony with the land by living off the land. But once you get into a point of like needing to extract these resources over and beyond just to support your living, and then to actually earn a living. Yeah. So you have a lot of these indigenous communities going in and unfortunately succumbing to the pressures of deforestation, illegal logging, mining, because those are the opportunities that will pay them.
Yeah. And Danny, I'm going to ask you a little bit more about fair trade jobs in a little bit. But before that, I want to ask you, why should we even care, about the rainforest? Because, it sounds like something that we should care. It just sounds like something that, it's nice to care about the environment, about our rainforest. But really, though, why should we actually care?
Yeah, it's interesting, because that's definitely that's probably my biggest opportunity with this particular project, is really inspiring people to understand why they should care about this. It really tends to be an out of sight, out of mind kind of thing when it's not happening right in your backyard. But what I tell people all the time, and what people really need to understand, is that the entire planet really is all of our backyard. The entire planet is it's all connected. It's all one big living, breathing ecosystem. And you see the effects of, what's the damage that's happening on one part of the planet. You'll see, at the North Pole starting to affect, the polar ice caps and whatnot. So it's all connected. For the rainforest specifically, the Amazon is one of the most biodiverse places on Earth. So not only for the fact that, it creates 20% of our oxygen and fresh water, which is vastly important to us surviving here, and people will argue, oh, well, the oxygen that's produced in the Amazon, it never actually makes it to us. And they're right. There is something to be said about all of the oxygen that's actually produced by the Amazon is immediately consumed but it's keeping the machine alive. It's literally, allowing that entire machine to continue to run. So what would happen if the Amazon, I keep talking about the Amazon specifically, but like if the Amazon were to reach a tipping point, which scientists have shown time and time again that we're actually rapidly approaching. Yeah. If we were to approach this tipping point and cross it, what would happen is a process would immediately start that would take a while, but it would be extremely hard, if not impossible, to reverse, which would essentially have the Amazon going through a desertification, ultimately meaning the Amazon would over time turn into a desert. Wow. And so if we don't put these systems in place to protect these ecosystems, what's going to happen is they're going to continue to be depleted, and to a point where one of these catastrophic events are going to ultimately kick in, and then it'll be too late. So it's vitally important. Why we should care is
that real? Like, is that true that like there are points where it is too late just because of the way the process works? Once it's into gear, you actually cannot turn it back.
Yeah, these are things that, with all of the advancements of humanity and, our modern technology, I can't say for sure if there are some systems or some technologies that may be able to be created in the future that could seed these regenerative elements within these ecosystems after they've already hit that point of, critical mass. But for all intents and purposes, we should not be wanting to find out if technology can save us.
Exactly.
We should be, wanting to see how can technology help us advance within the healthy ecosystem that we are doing our part to protect and nurture and to live in harmony with, right? Sure. So that's how it's, obviously applies to just everyone on Earth as it, pertains to their own ability to care about, their future generations, for their children and their grandchildren. But then you get into also like all of the animals and the indigenous people that live there. I mean, there's millions and millions of indigenous people that call these rainforests home, millions of animals that are rapidly going extinct because of this. And, you know, if you happen to be one of those people that literally don't care about anything that I've talked about already, which would be very strange, you know, also a large part of our modern medicine that is literally keeping us alive, the advancements in medicine that are coming out that are, you know, helping to cure a lot of these diseases that up until now, you know, have seen no cures for, are coming out of the rainforest. So it's actually like, it's really insane when you think about it. When you think about the scope of like how important and vital these ecosystems really are on any number of levels, whether you care about animals or other people or whatever, or your own health or the safety of the planet, you know, there's so much in there that is, it's like, it's the lifeblood. It's like one of the lifelines to our existence here, and all the other creatures that we share it with. So it's one of the,
I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's something that I've heard in the past, but it wasn't present in my mind in terms of, you know, the amount of medicine that comes out of it, which is really cool. So, hey guys, I just want to remind you, if you want to find more content like this, you can visit sebastiannaum.com. That's Sebastian, NAUM.com. You can also get a ton of other marketing resources from myself and my agencies, ranging from SEO to social media, influencer marketing, branding, web development, and more. Again, that's sebastiannaum.com. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the show.
20% of the ingredients found in our modern medicine.
Wow.
And the really interesting statistic around the medicine is that 20% of the ingredients in our modern medicine is sourced from rainforest plants, and yet only 1% of the plants that exist in rainforests have ever actually been studied for their medicinal value.
Wow.
So that makes you really think like, wow, we're getting 20% of our ingredients from there, yet we've only scratched the surface of the plants that actually exist there and what their potential medicinal values are.
That's mind-blowing, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy to think about. So for all these reasons, you started a social enterprise called 1 Million Acres, which we'll get into. But before you did that, you were working for Verizon doing business sales. Then you had a restaurant. So you did several things. Was there, you know, without necessarily going into the beginning to end, but like, was there a shift, like a specific shift that caused you to go, no, I need to go into something that has more purpose? What was it? Yeah,
my quote unquote calling into, you know, onto the path that I've chosen was not very clear nor cut and dry. All it was really, it was a feeling of unease, discomfort, and certainty that where I was not the right place. And the reason why I was so sure that was the right feeling that was pulling me away was that, you know, at the time I was working at this job, you know, in corporate America, working for Verizon business accounts. You know, I had like this amazing bachelor pad in Venice, you know, blocked from the beach. It's just beautiful place, like you know, awesome neighbors, awesome. Just I had a savings account, a 401k. You know, I was traveling when I wasn't working, and I even got to a point where the job itself, I had kind of built up my network enough to where the majority of my commissions and everything that were coming in every month were like these residual commissions based from my accounts that I had already put in the work on. So I found myself in a place where I wasn't having to do much work, you know? So I was not doing a lot of work. I was able to travel, you know, in my free time. I was making more money than I'd ever made. And yet, even with all that, there was something inside that was like, this isn't it. Like,
dude, that's really interesting, because that's a spot that a lot of people aim to.
People would be like, this is it. I made it. Like I can.
Yeah, man.
I've got the money. But I think for me, what it was, I don't know for sure. You know, I know that obviously I've been called into this through the evolution of that path since I left. And a number of things kind of happened along the way to really guide me, you know, to where I'm at. But one of the biggest things I think I felt was that I kind of started that fire started dying. And when I started to see that I was able to kind of rest on my laurels a little bit, instead of, when you first start, you got that fire and that grind to get out there and knock on doors and make the cold calls and really hustle hard. And when I found myself getting in this place of kind of complacency, and I was like, this is really weird. Like, this is not a good place for me to be. Like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to fall into this space where I am almost kind of ambivalent.
Yeah.
And that desire to push, to kind of grow or do something more, it wasn't there.
Yeah.
So, I've also learned along the way that, it's not all about just push, grow.
Right.
But I think that what it has pulled me into is finding something that I can truly like infinitely be inspired to wake up and continue to want to grow, because the point of it, the purpose behind it is infinitely more inspirational than just how many more accounts can I get and how many more dollars can I add to my bank account.
Sure. I think what was really interesting is that one of the first things you said when you answered that question actually was a feeling of uneasiness. And so it was actually a feeling. It wasn't an event. It was a gradual feeling of uneasiness, and the fire kind of like dying out. And then eventually it got to a spot. So thank you for sharing that, Danny.
Yeah, I think that's relevant too for anyone listening, because a lot of people think that everyone has this this was the moment that I knew for the rest of my life I was going to be this, and this. And
right.
My journey to where I'm at now, even with that kind of just knowing that I needed to leave, it was like, I don't know where I'm going. I just know I need to open the door to this space that I'm in and walk out and start going somewhere else in another direction. And that took me, through another journey of a few different paths. Right. So it was never really, clear right out of the gates per se.
Oh man, good for you for recognizing it. A lot of people can't recognize it. So it's good to listen to yourself, That's amazing, dude. So OMA, 1 million acres, OMA, for every bracelet that is sold, that somebody buys, we are protecting 1 acre of rainforest. So I'm gonna come out with that tone again and be like, dude, someone hears that and they're like, that's some bullshit. You're telling me I buy one freaking bracelet and it helps.
How much is this guy putting in his pocket and pretending?
And then it's like 1 acre land protected, and we're planting a tree. So, and we'll get into the other stuff, but so how is that even a thing?
Yeah. So, and to kind of just jump back a step and kind of clarify 1 million acres, OMA is the name of my social enterprise. And what we do is we work with indigenous artisan communities in the Amazon rainforest to provide them with fair trade job opportunities by making a bracelet that we've created in partnership with them that's made of all natural organic resources, sustainably sourced from the Amazon. The entire supply chain itself is as eco-friendly as you can get, and that term is thrown around so much these days. Right. Oftentimes it's just greenwashing, but we've really...
Danny, what's greenwashing? I'm going to interrupt you because I wanted to ask you that later, but since you brought it up, what is greenwashing? Because I had never heard of that term before.
Yeah, so greenwashing is basically when companies will utilize any type of language or any type of marketing to market what it is that they're doing as green or as good for the planet. But it's greenwashing. It's washing over the fact that they're still destroying the planet, or they're still not really in integrity with what it is they're doing or selling. But they're, so it would be like if McDonald's were to say, we'll plant a tree for every burger sold. You know what I'm saying? Like that's, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. I mean, you're going to plant a tree as you're, part of the industry that is literally the largest funder of deforestation.
Sure.
So
now, I would still rather them plant a tree.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is that using that as your marketing, as hi, look at us, we're great.
After I said that, I was kind of like, it's probably not the best example of greenwashing, because it's still, it's really more when people will use terms like eco-friendly or green, because there's maybe one element of something. Maybe they have like, you know, a recycled component, you know, so maybe like apparel is another thing. Apparel is a very tricky space because the apparel industry is one of the most, you know, environmentally damaging industries there is. So there's some people that are doing it right, but you know, to call an apparel brand eco-friendly because you're using maybe paper hang tags on your shirt, but you're just using traditional cotton shirts, you know, something more along the lines of that. So it's like, you know, not taking it into consideration what the entire footprint is of what it is that you're doing, and you know, calling it green.
So almost doing that, you guys are taking into consideration every step of the process.
Right. So you know, with the bracelet itself, you know, there's other companies that do this type of, you know, thing. This model has been proven out. You know, people love to wear a bracelet to show their support of a cause that, you know, they can rally behind. And I'm not knocking on any of them. There's some that have done it much better than others, but you know, even the most eco-friendly of these bracelets, the majority of the times, at the very least, will have nylon string, which nylon is plastic. So at the end of the life cycle of this bracelet, it's going back in a landfill. Again, you know, maybe they're putting millions of dollars towards great causes, but there's a little piece that's out of integrity. So what I really was wanting to do with this project is make sure that the entire scope of the project, from the concept itself, the product itself, which is the bracelet, which our bracelet is 100% biodegradable. So it's made of 2 organic materials. So the bracelet has no components in it that will damage the planet. The resources are harvested sustainably and in a way that's regenerative. So no trees are cut down. They just harvest, you know, the leaves and these seeds. So anyway, I kind of went off on a tangent with that, but the whole idea was that, you know, what we're doing with OMA is, you know, we're selling these actual, you know, good for the planet bracelets that are providing fair trade, reliable opportunities for our artisan partners, which is a big part of what's actually helping combat deforestation as well. Like I was telling you before, you know, giving these artisans an opportunity to use their native skills of making bracelets so that them or their partners don't have to go cut down trees to put food on the table is a huge element of it. But then, so we go into the donation. So we're supporting 2 organizations, Rainforest Trust and One Tree Planted. And that is the side of it where we're actually able to protect an acre of endangered rainforest as well as the planting of a tree. And it is mind blowing. And it's the reason why I started this, is because when I first got the idea for it, I had already been a personal donor to Rainforest Trust. I was donating on a monthly basis. Something I was just really passionate about at the time, having had traveled down to the Amazon. And when I saw that, it was like, wow, some of these campaigns in like Indonesia, there's places where it's, you know, $1,000, $2,000 an acre. It depends on where the campaign is. But seeing that within some of these campaigns, even specifically within the Amazon in Peru and Ecuador, that you could purchase an acre of land for as little as, you know, $1 to $2.
That's crazy.
It's crazy, right? And so when I saw that, I'm kind of looking into this, and I'm like, you know, how does it work? And I went back and forth with Rainforest Trust to understand it a little more. And it's, you know, again, I think I explained this to you before. It's not like you can just go down there and say, here's $10, give me my 5 acres.
Yeah.
You know, they're making these like huge, large million plus plots of land available for, you know, for purchase. And so what they're doing is they're technically like kind of crowdsourcing or fundraising, you know, enough to reach that goal of, you know, $5 million so that we can purchase this particular plot of land and turn it into a federally protected reserve, right? So that's the kind of concept of how it works. But when I realized that, like, wow, like $2, you know, whatever, that could be worked into a margin for a product to create one of these 1-for-1, you know, social enterprise business models that Tom's has championed, you know, the one model, buy a pair, give a pair. And so when I thought, you know, wow, I could sell something, I don't know what it is, you could buy something and save an acre of land, and to realize that something doesn't even have to be like a car. Like, you're not buying a car and saving an acre. Like, you can buy something that, I'm going to figure out how to price this around, $20 or so to build that give back to, somewhere around 10 to 15% ish. And that would allow people to support this enterprise that we could grow while, doing a massive amount of good.
That's amazing, man.
That's how everything kind of catalyzed.
That's awesome. And the quantification aspect is so important because, so for anybody out there listening, thinking about a social enterprise or somebody that doesn't know what a social enterprise is, it is a for-profit company that has a bigger purpose than just making profits for its owners or investors. So it has a larger purpose, a bigger purpose. In Oma's case, it is to help save the rainforest. So, going back to the quantification aspect of that one for one that Tom so much very made, famous and well known, but it's so important, man, because it makes the purchasing decision that much easier. You've got great causes like 1% for the planet, for example, which is a dope organization because the business actually gets to choose what cause it actually goes to. So it's actually supporting all kinds of different causes, which is amazing. And hey, 1% of a lot of money is a lot of money. However, in terms of the purchasing decision of the buyer, and from a marketing standpoint too, it makes it really difficult to quantify like, 1% of this, this drink is going towards. So it's tough. And I think it's great for businesses to participate in that. What I'm trying to make a point of is the power of the quantification of the give back on a one-for-one type model for social enterprise is huge. So if I'm buying a bracelet and that's helping save 1 acre of land, and we can actually trace that. And that's why I was asking you, like, how in the world are you actually doing that?
Well, it's funny because, like you were saying, like I've almost chosen like the hardest thing to quantify to build into a model because it's like, it is almost unbelievable. So it's almost like I've gone so far in that direction, like, oh my gosh, I can do the most good with this thing. It's so far in that direction that it's like, it's really hard for people to understand and to believe in a way. So like, you have the traditional, a lot of people are planting a tree. Plant a tree, buy this product will plant a tree. It's very easy to wrap their head around. Hey, I'll plant 1 tree. I believe it, and we're doing that as well. We're actually planting a tree with 1 tree planted and saving an acre with rainforest.
Yeah.
So it's funny though. My work
is
really like convincing and showing people that this is real and we are able to do this and it doesn't take a lot. And if people are willing to just, do a little bit of research and get on board, like we can do a lot of good in a very short period of time.
Yeah. And I'm sure you get the haters too, right? On like social posts. Consumerism isn't the answer no matter what. And this isn't the right way to do it. But the way I'm looking at it is like, man, you can scale this model, through a conscious capitalistic model and actually just provide so much more good than maybe.
I think we talked about this briefly, but it was like a lot of people, especially the trolls online that, love to hate on really anything. No matter who's out there trying to do their part, they're always gonna find something. A lot of times people don't understand is like, when people say you should donate 50% of your profits if you want to consider yourself, whatever, your integrity, you don't care unless you donate this. What people don't understand is if you can build a company donating 50% of your profits up to $100,000 and then it folds because you just don't have the resources, people, or bandwidth to grow the company, you've donated 50 grand to this cause, and great. If you can build, a $10 million business that you are able to donate 10% of your profits and you've donated $1 million to this cause, what people will kind of argue sometimes is, well, so what? You put $9 million in your pocket? That's not how business works. You need a lot of money to run the business, hire employees. All of my employees right now, quote unquote, because I don't have any official employees, are all in Ecuador. I'm employing not just our artisans, but I'm employing people on the ground in the cities of Ecuador to help me do project management. So it's beautiful that I'm able to create these job opportunities for these other communities and, within the more kind of the business landscape of Ecuador as well. But my vision is grow this, this idea, this vision, this project to this level. The impact that we're going to be able to make just from our give back alone will be night and day to what I could do on, if I was giving all of the things all of the time right now. But more importantly, it can use those additional profits, as it is a for-profit, to then go out and build, the nonprofit arm of the business, where we are maybe able to create our our own in-house reforestation plant in these communities. So now we're not necessarily even just donating to Rainforest Trust and One Tree Planted. Now we can be actually working on helping to fund some of the local, initiatives within these areas, where we're going to continue to plant chambira trees. Chambira is the resource that we use for the string in our bracelet. So now we're going to create a chambira reforestation initiative where we can make sure that there's enough chambira that's continuing to thrive. Tagua that we use for our beads, we're replanting tagua trees. So that's the point of a social enterprise. Yes, it's a profit model, but it's so that you can take that profit and funnel it back into, other projects that are aligned with what your mission is.
Yeah, man. I love the examples you used. I think you used some great examples there, and it's just so important for people to hear that. And for anyone out there listening to this too, thinking, well, you're not employing anyone here in the US, we need more jobs here. Actually, you are, because you work with marketing agencies and you work with all kinds of people.
I'm giving plenty of money to people here in the US. Trust me. This is, in order for this to succeed, it's there's all that side of things: marketing, operations, fulfillment, shipping. We're trying to keep USPS, in business. So we're doing it. I'm not anti by any means.
I feel you, man. So I was gonna ask, in a way, like what is next for OMA? You kind of were going that way in the sense of like the big picture, but what's like currently next right now?
So really the next step for us is I've just gotten our next round of inventory in. It's funny, we're talking about, employing people in the US, and I was like, one of the things that I'm like, I feel like I'm going to take this part on my own. And what it is taking each of the bracelets with a little insert. One of the other things I didn't mention earlier, the insert for a bracelet is made out of a biodegradable seed paper. So when you take the bracelet off the packaging, you can plant it, and you can actually grow your own intention. You can write your intention on this card and then plant it and grow it through the wildflowers seeds that are inside. So now I'm going and, putting each of the inserts and each of the bracelets into the bag. I'm like, wow, 2,500 bracelets is a lot more than I thought it was. So I'm right now actually literally in the process of packaging everything up, getting it ready. And then we're going to start a big marketing push to really start, getting the word out, getting people to be inspired to join the movement, buy a bracelet, buy, 5 bracelets as gifts for the holidays coming up. I mean, it's such a low price point gift. It's an amazing gift. So my goal is really to utilize the next few months is really push the marketing side of things and get to the end of the year. And then next year, I think we have, plans to kind of grow the initiative a little bit.
And just to clarify to anyone listening out there, this isn't your first push. This is like a next step push. You guys have already saved how many acres of land?
So we've saved just over 10,000.
That's amazing.
This push it's kind of like, it's been a little bit of an evolution. This is like the new OMA bracelet. This is like the new and improved. This will be the OMA bracelet. Yeah.
I love it. So Danny, you filed for bankruptcy and for divorce in the same month, dude. That's gnarly, man. That's really rough. How has that fueled your passion? How has that kept you on this path, this purpose-driven path that you have?
Yeah, I'm glad you shared that, because, I shared that with you earlier, and it was definitely something that, so it happened last year, in a culmination of what felt like, all of the heavy stuff that I've been dealing with. Ultimately, I don't know if I shared this earlier, but from Verizon when I left, on the path to getting to starting OMA, I went through various different ideas and whatnot. And one of those was opening a restaurant. This franchise fast casual restaurant that ultimately it just took everything out of me. It was right before we had our twins. I have twins that are 5 years old now. And this was literally a month before we opened the doors to this restaurant. We had our twins. So that first year was just, it's crazy. I mean, I don't really remember most of it because I don't think I slept for a year. But, between the restaurant, unfortunately kind of going under, I was able to barely, sell it with it before I lost it. And just some other things. I just ended up in this really bad financial place. And at the same time, it was really unfortunate, but my partnership with the mother of my children came to an end. And I found myself literally, like you said, filing for bankruptcy and divorce in the same month. And so, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, if that would have happened, it would have probably ruined me for years. I mean, and I think that a big part of what I've learned on my path of just, personal development, growing my mindset, just learning to seek out the opportunity in anything that happens to us. We can certainly feel the weight of these heavy things that come at us, but it's really up to us to decide how that's going to impact our lives and whether we're victim to that circumstance or whether we find some way to grow from that. And luckily, thankfully, I had had enough training in that type of awareness to get to that point. And all I could think of in my mind is, this is crazy. Like, this doesn't make sense. Like, how is it possible that I'm literally doing what I thought I would never have to do in filing for bankruptcy? I always had a very negative stigma around what that meant about you as a business person, as an entrepreneur. I always found great, comfort in, are you familiar with Susie Batiste? She founded Poopery.
Oh, yeah.
$1 billion enterprise. She filed for bankruptcy twice in her life. And I always was very motivated, inspired by when she shared that journey, because, it made me realize that it doesn't have to mean anything about you. Filing for bankruptcy, filing for divorce, it doesn't have to mean that, I'm a shitty partner or I'm a shitty, entrepreneur. Like, these are things that happen. And if I can look at it as maybe the universe is giving me an opportunity to literally start with a blank slate, start and literally reinvent myself, how can it not be that? Both of these things are happening at the same time. Like, how can this not be some sort of divine intervention in a way to give me an opportunity to really reset the clock and really kind of reshift, everything that I had been holding on to that was no longer serving me. So I think that was really impactful, and I share it because hopefully it'll resonate with anyone that has gone through some heavy stuff that they've taken on as part of their identity, as opposed to just, this is something that happened to me. We don't have to take the things that feel like the worst possible things and accept them as who we are. We don't have to create them as our identity. We don't have to be the worst versions of ourselves because these things happen to us. These things maybe happen to us to give us an opportunity to change. And so I think that, having gone through that was definitely a big catalyst for me, and, really developing this warrior mindset of by any means necessary, this is happening, this is going to happen, and I can and I will do it.
Yeah, man, that's powerful, Danny. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah, I actually got the chills hearing you say it. So I knew when I get the chills hearing somebody talk, that means that it really resonates and it hits me. So I know it'll hit someone else. I think particularly it's the aspect of what you said about this happening and this happening does not equate this about me. Yeah. Does not mean I'm a shitty entrepreneur or a shitty partner. That's what I think is the most important, because when these kind of things happen to us, we make that connection. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we take the worst things that happen to us and create our identity around those.
Yeah.
Versus the best things that happen to us and make them be like, this cool thing I did. You know, it's just weird thing that we do as humans where we're like, I ran a marathon. Great. I'm not an athlete. I'm not a runner. I'm not badass. You know, I just ran a marathon and I'm proud of myself for a day and boom. But I filed for bankruptcy. I'm shitty with money. You know, that's who I am. It's weird. You know, so just learning to kind of reframe that.
Danny, what are 2 traits that the conscious leader must have today?
I mean, I'll tell you like the immediate first word that came into my mind is integrity, because it is my guiding star. You know, it's the number one trait that I hold in staying aligned with what it is that I'm trying to do. There have been opportunities to, you know, pitch something a certain way to maybe get more people interested or say this or say that. If you don't have integrity and if you lie or if you try to manipulate what it is that you're doing, that energy will ultimately translate into whatever it is that you're doing. So for me, integrity is the biggest thing that I always utilize in whatever it is that I'm doing, both in the people that I work with and, you know, myself for the decisions I make for the business. And I think the other one is really just conscious, which I believe everybody should be, but conscious entrepreneur or not, you know, as an entrepreneur, the biggest thing you need to have is just the willingness to just stick with it, just stay with it and just keep going. I can't tell you how many different iterations I've gone through for this project, how many times I've wanted to quit because I felt like, I don't know if it's going to be, this little thing is not going to be. You gotta be willing to know that things are going to come in that are going to try to stop you. And you have to just commit to just pushing and continuing to work towards whatever it is that your goal is. Because, you know, nothing comes easy, nothing comes quick. But if you stick with something long enough, you'll start to notice pieces falling in place that are like, this is the direction I'm supposed to be moving in. So
I love that, man.
Yeah, integrity and tenacity.
Love it. I love it, Danny. So people can visit omaearth.com and learn a lot more about this project, buy a bracelet there and get all the social channels. Is there a social handle that you wanted to share?
Yeah, Oma Earth, it's the same. So our Instagram's where we're the most active. So Oma Earth, going to start, really building that channel out a lot more too, getting involved, getting interactive, doing some giveaways, getting just people involved to really find out what the particular types of content people really want to see.
You guys already do a great job with it. So
appreciate that.
Awesome, man. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on, Danny. You're an inspiration. I appreciate you and keep doing you, brother.
My pleasure, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. You know, it takes a lot to put these things together, but I truly love doing it. If you enjoyed this episode or the show in general, and you listen to it on audio podcast, please take some time to give it a review. It would really mean a lot to me. And if you watch the video, please go ahead and just click subscribe and share it with somebody that you think would like it. It would really mean the world to me and it helps keep the show alive. Visit sebastiannaum.com for more content and follow me on Instagram at sebnaum. That's SEBNAUM. Thanks again for spending your time with me. I know it is valuable. I hope you have a great rest of the day and week. Till next time.